Hi, welcome back, everybody. Sterling has risen close to a 1.5-month high against the dollar today. For a technical look at the markets, Max Knudsen joins us, Chief Market Strategist from ADS Securities. Max, good to see you all the way from Abu Dhabi. Where are we heading with sterling?
Evening, Louisa. It's evening time here. Well, before we talk about sterling, can I just talk about, touch on dollar yen first and then come on to sterling?
You please. I would love to hear about dollar yen.
I wanted to make on dollar yen. Yeah, there's 2 points that I wanted to make on dollar yen, and the first one is to put the current prices that we're seeing into some kind of context. Now, over the last 3 days, we've had a significant move in the currency, following the BOJ's announcement on Thursday and the what is in effect the largest burst of monetary stimulus the world's ever seen. But for me, that is just the latest signal in a trend that I identified back in November. And that was based on a statistical and empirical observation of trends in dollar yen sentiment over the last 30 years. Now, the first chart that I want to look at here is a monthly chart, and I've overlaid this with a 20-month average of the currency itself. And what should be immediately clear is the very close correlation with breaks of the average and what are very often big new bull or bear trends in sentiment. Now, the most recent of these big ones happened in September 2007, when the dollar yen broke below its moving average of 117.50. And what followed was a 5-year bear market and a sell-off of 29% in the currency. Now, that's changed. In November, I noticed for the first time for many years, dollar yen was moving back above its moving average, and for me that was the sign that a new bull trend in sentiment is underway. And that's been spectacularly successful, the break of that average. In the last few months, the currency has gone up 20%. Now, what I want to focus on is not so much the signal itself, but the extent of the moves that have followed the breaks of the average over the last 30 years. And I've analysed all of these 12 breaks, and the average move on a break usually is around 15% appreciation or depreciation in the currency. Now, we're already through that, Louisa. We're at 20% since November. The biggest move that we've seen over the last 30 years has been a change in the currency's value of 44%. So if this current move in sentiment that we're seeing in dollar yen is anything like the biggest that we've seen in the last 30 years, we're talking about a dollar yen move towards 118. And given we've only had a 20% appreciation so far, we could only be halfway in this current new bull trend cycle in dollar yen, even though we've had this stimulus package from the BOJ. Now, I want to just bring that into context, into exactly where we are today now.
Okay, yeah. Please go ahead a bit briefly, because we're running out of time, and I know our guest host also has a comment on this for you too, so just briefly.
Okay, we've had 3 days of improvement in dollar yen, but today we've stopped. Why? Very obvious. Since the break of the average in November, there's been one most likely impact of that change, and that is for the market to recover some of the 2007 to 2011 bear market. And the most obvious point for that to go to is 99.72, which is a 50% recovery of all of the bear market losses, and we reached there this morning. So for me, the reason why dollar yen has run into a wall of selling today is simple profit-taking selling, not just from people like myself recommending it, but from traders everywhere. Other analysts will all be focusing on the fact that dollar yen has recovered 50% of the bear market, and that's why we've had some profit-taking selling today. But I think it's just temporary.
Kits?
And do you think this pace of the appreciation that we've seen, from 77 to 98 at the moment, is that going to continue, or do you think it has to slow down now?
I think the one thing that is very consistent with trends in sentiment is that they always overshoot, either on the upside or the downside. People get too enthusiastic or they get too pessimistic, and markets will always move faster than people expect. So normally I would say no, it's unlikely to continue at this pace, but we're in a very strong sentiment trend. I think we'll see some profit taking temporarily, but I would still expect the type of moves that we're seeing to continue, and possibly into next week going through 100, and within a few months maybe towards 110.
Max, you've got about 20 seconds to tell us where sterling is heading.
156. Similar kind of story to dollar yen. I'm looking for a 50% recovery of all of the year's losses. That'll be towards 156. with the market supported by strong trends in sentiment, improving momentum, and good economic figures today. You know, the industrial production figures were a surprise, but that's just going to fuel the current bull trend in sentiment in the pound versus the dollar.
Max, lovely seeing you. Thank you very much. Max Knudsen, Chief Market Strategist from ADS Securities.